Hey, good morning. It's Edna Keep here live with Free Coaching Friday, and today we are going to talk about neighborhood features that lower your property values. I think this is a very important topic to talk about because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people look at just the numbers or take what a realtor tells them or take what a seller is telling them and just use that as fact. So this is some of the stuff you need to know when you're buying rental property. And this fits for any country, any province, any state, and any neighborhood. You need to be aware of this. So there's some cliches in real estate that we've heard again and again and again, like location, location, location. But you know what? It's so true. You need to know your tenant profile. You need to know what kind of tenants you're going to attract to certain areas, because believe me, if you're attracting tenants that don't take care of your properties, your repairs and maintenance are going to go way higher. So even though it might look like you're getting $500 or $600 a month cash flow, once you take those costs into effect, that eats it up really fast. You get one $6,000 damage and there's your profit for the whole year. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's not just a drive-by. You need to get into the unit. You got to check out street appeal, that sort of thing. Remember, cash is king. Cash is king is another cliche we hear all the time, but it's so true. If your cash flow isn't inhibited, that really puts a mess on your ability to grow and your ability to sustain. So you also have to know your vacancy rate. What's the next one? Worst house, best street. That's another one that we've heard again and again. And sometimes that's true, you know. If you can get the worst house on the best street, I mean, all you have to do is fix it up and make it fit in with the rest, and you got yourself a bargain. So that does work sometimes. But you know what? Keep in mind that location is probably the most important. You need to have the right location to make your property work. We've tended to stay with neighborhoods that are away from the hood, and the hood is in our area is described as North Central. You can get Hood Light, which is kind of on the outskirts of North Central. We have a couple there that are pretty good. You do attract a different tenant profile, but you just have to be aware. You really have to be aware. And some people thrive in those atmospheres, and some people don't. So location's a term that's been used since 1926, according to the New York Times. It's true and should be taken very seriously. We like neighborhoods that other families live in, so that you know, you can buy row houses a lot of times where they're even newer houses, but they're all look alike. They're all definitely rental looking. So you have to be careful with that. We like houses in neighborhoods where there's a family right next door. It just fits better with our profile. And you know, if the next door neighbor's lawn looks really nice, they're more apt to keep it nice themselves. Not to say that they will, because lots of times you can drive by and you can tell which unit is rented on a street. But it is something that it gives them some incentive to keep up with the neighbors. When you buy a home in a good, solid location, it's usually a great long-term investment. And you know what, us as optimists, we think everything is going to work out always. But you know, even in some of our really great neighborhoods, we've experienced some vacancy in the markets like's going on right now. So when you do get those tenants in, treat them like gold, because if you can do anything you can to keep them in a market like this, it really adds up to your bottom line too. Okay, I'm just... this isn't ever one that I totally remember, so I have to look at my notes. Remember that, you know, it's not always peaches and cream. That's why everybody doesn't do real estate, you know. There's challenges that go with it. I think any business, hey, good morning, John, good morning, Ivan. I think any business out there, you're going to have challenge. It just doesn't matter. Like I was mentioning the other day, we're in the process of trying to buy a business. So I was talking to a lady about their business, and she said, oh my gosh, Edna, if it was up to me, I would sell it. But my husband has family members and stuff like that that he's looking after, so he doesn't want to sell it. And she said, I don't know if you want this business. It's challenging, Edna. And I said, you know what? I've never seen a business that isn't challenging. That's what makes it worthwhile getting into business, is the challenges. And as long as you're up for it and you just realize that, you get around those challenges, and that's what helps you grow as a person. That's what helps you grow as a landlord. That's what helps you grow as somebody who's building a real estate empire. We've learned so much, both through trial and error, mistakes, failures, and we're going to continue. We're not going to give up. There's sometimes when it's challenging and you just want to throw your hands in the air and go, why did I ever do this? But it's worth it in the long run. The type of business that I was just talking about, Ivan, was gravel and pavement and that sort of stuff. We know a fellow who's in that business and he's doing very, very well. So who knows? We might find something like that. But we're not tied to any one particular kind. We're just looking for something that's something that we can add value to, and something that will provide long-term income, or also provide us an opportunity to systematize it and sell it for profit in 5 years or something like that too. So that's kind of what we're looking for. So anyway, because life in real estate is not always peaches and cream, I want you to look at some of the downers that happen. The things about properties that prevent you from earning top dollar on your investments, because that's a big thing. So location. Did you know that it's a worse investment to buy in a bad school district than near a strip club or a homeless shelter? That makes sense, right? Everybody has kids. They want to be in a good school district. Franchise, no, not really. There's a special way that we're looking to buy, and that's with none of our own money. And with the franchise, their business is to collect money from you, not even to make you money. Their business model is to collect money from you. So franchise, we'd stay away from. Things that drag down the value of your home. So one of the things that some people say drag down the value of your home is 3.2% close to a hospital, close to a shooting range. And you know what? We know the shooting range part because we actually, out at our acreage, we're close to a shooting range. We don't hear it, or very seldom hear it, but some people right across the street, that house is already sold like 4 times because it's close to the shooting range. A power plant, and we'd all know why, right? Because there's emissions from those power plants that are really not good for our health. Funeral home. Being close to a funeral home drags down your value of your home, and same with cemetery. Homeless shelter, yes, again, we did say it's not as bad as some others, but homeless shelter is something, because people think, oh, homeless people, oh, they could, attack our home or look for a place to sleep or be sleeping outside, that sort of thing. Another thing is high renter concentration. So like I said before, when you get those row houses where rental, they all just look like rentals. There's no way around it. It will drag down the value of your home. So I wouldn't be buying a home in that area. Strip clubs, again, we talked about that earlier. It's not as bad as your school district, but still something that was. And then, like I said, the very biggest was bad school district. It was like 22%. Okay, so let's look at causation versus correlation. So does having a cemetery or shooting range in the neighborhood cause home prices to drop? Or are there businesses drawn to the area because of cheap real estate? You have to know that too. We don't always have a definite answer, but their presence is generally a sign that a neighborhood is the opposite of up and coming. You'll hear people always talk about, well, this is an up and coming neighborhood, but do your homework and judge it yourself. Judge your investment, because if you only take your information from the person selling it to you, they're going to point out all the good things. You're the one that has to look for the bad things. So, okay, so with hospitals, the drag, they say, is about 3.2%. Well, they're awesome for some people, you'd think, right? You know, especially as you get elderly, you want to be close to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. But having a great one with an easy access is something certain people are looking for. But easy access is one thing, and being woken up by an ambulance or medical helicopter at 3 a.m. is another. So keep that in mind too. Among homeowners who sold in 2015, this is a little bit old, I haven't updated it since, those near hospital generally got 3% less than an average home in the same country would get. And you know, we learned that ourselves. We got a really good deal actually close to a hospital, and we thought, oh, this would be perfect for, you know, maybe renting it furnished to doctors or nurses and whatnot. And you know what? We didn't get any doctors or nurses or people that work at the hospital. We end up with welfare recipients in that property, and we've tried several times. We've tried advertising at the hospital, but it's not what it attracts. Maybe they don't want to be woken up in the morning, right? They know. In the world of real estate, investing price demerits of 3% is not a huge amount. So clearly there are plenty of people who are willing to overlook some noise and chaos in favor of being nearby a medical care. You know, we're in the process of building a senior center right close to a hospital. But you know what? It's not a major hospital. It's a small town hospital. So a little bit quieter. You won't be getting as many ambulances and helicopters going in as a major hospital. Okay, shooting range. This is what the drag on there, they say, is 3.7%. So according to research, it's not the guns or the people who shoot them that the neighbors of shooting ranges object to most. It's the places themselves as well as the noise of the gunfire that are problematic. People also demonstrated environmental concerns with regard to the lead that leaches off spent shells, potentially poisoning soil or water. So that's a big one too. Power plants. So the drag on that one's like 5.3%. There are more than 8,000 power plants across the U.S., according to the Environmental Information Agency. I don't even know what the number is in Canada. The huge facilities spur more, not in my backyard talking, movements than anything short of waste treatment with facilities. Most people cite safety concerns for the resistance. The dangers of living near a power plant depend on the type of plant, from solar to nuclear. So that matters too. So you want to ask those questions. In general, having a power plant in the neighborhood is associated with lower property values. People who don't do their research and know of some of the dangers of living close, they don't think of the health detriments and all that sort of thing. Funeral homes, again, the drag 6.5%, so we're kind of going from lowest to highest. People dislike funeral homes for a number of reasons. Most people believe you get bad spiritual energy from living near a funeral home. Some dislike the traffic caused by service workers and funeral attendees and all the cars coming and going from funerals. Some fear that the smoke from the crematorium is toxic, so keep that in mind. And some find them to be unsettling and unpleasant reminder of just mortality. They just think about dying when they're close to that. So properties near funeral homes see a 6.5% drop in price compared to all other homes in the same county. Cemeteries, same sort of thing. Irrational or not, there are a lot of people who find the prospect of living near cemeteries terrifying. You know, you hear kids all the time playing in cemeteries and calling up ghosts and all that kind of stuff, and they run out of there screaming. It's not just kids, though. A lot of times it's adults. Kids will play in there. Adults generally will only go there in the daytime. And there's some people who dig how quiet the neighbors are, but they're definitely outnumbered by the haters. Homeless shelters. Now, I know I would personally not want to live anywhere close to a homeless shelter. And, you know, we've had times where they've talked about putting homeless shelters in the neighborhoods we've bought in. And the neighbors all fight it. Because of course they have to send you out a notice that somebody's looking at putting in something in this area. And people fight it because they feel like it would really lower their property values. And in this article here, it talks about the drag being 12.7%. So, even though there's no rule that homeless shelters are usually accompanied by higher rates of crime, shelters do certainly attract unpredictable groups of people. Emergency calls, more police in the area, that sort of thing. Again, 12.5%, that's pretty big. So again, that's what, when you see a property maybe 4 blocks over or 6 blocks over, different neighborhood, and it's a whole different price range, now you know why. And another big drag is where there is a high concentration of renters. I wouldn't want to own a home across the street from a whole bunch of apartment buildings, because there's just a different mentality with renters. Like, they don't take care of their stuff. There's a lot of people, and that's not all renters. Some of our renters are absolutely fabulous, and they're just in transition. They're renting before they buy a home. The ones that you need to worry about are the ones who are their whole family history is only ever rented because they've never been able to save enough money to buy. So a lot of them are on welfare, stuff like that. So you just have to be careful with that. It's hard to do an analysis down to every single property, but it has been discovered that areas with higher than average concentration of renters have lower property values. So keep that in mind when you're looking for your rental properties too. Don't expect that you'll pay the same price as you would in a neighborhood where there's all families. Strip club. So this one, the drag on there is 14.7%. And I know you guys will know why. Catering to adults that are associated with loud music, less than savory visitors is an unwelcome neighbor in the block. In one extreme case, a crime-plagued neighborhood in East St. Louis, it was home to 10 strip clubs. So it's one thing having one. 10? Oh my gosh, that would just be challenging. That neighborhood saw only a handful of homes sold in the past 3 years with a median price of $10,000. So very, very huge discrepancy there. And then the one we talked about earlier was the biggest drag is bad schools. And parents check, they go meet with the teachers. I mean, in our area, you don't always have the option of what school you go to. And if you do, you've got to drive them. That was us. We wanted to go to White City School and we had to drive. Whereas if we would have went to Pilot Butte School, we would have got bus. Not that Pilot Butte's bad. I've actually heard really good things about Pilot Butte. The only reason we wanted to be White City was just because most of our friends were there, and the girls knew some of those kids. So that was one of the things for us. So while a top performing school is definitely a plus for your property value, a bad school is definitely a disaster. A school where one teacher handles a class of 40 students with a low graduation rate is usually an indicator of a deprived neighborhood. So be careful of that. The median home price areas with schools that receive a 1 to 3 rating out of a 10 in this particular option, it's a lot less. So be careful with that. So that's quick, short and sweet today. And if there's no questions, I'm going to sign off. I do got a crazy busy day coming ahead of me, but thanks for joining me. And if you have any specific topics you'd like me to talk about, reach out to me at edna@ednakeep.com. And I am lining up my course for the fall. I got a bunch of new people starting here early September. So if you or anyone you know would like to be considered, please reach out to me again at edna@ednakeep.com. And we might get you maybe able to help you buy a multifamily with investor capital before the year ends.